Hello and welcome back to Tima Ballers podcast. Welcome back indeed. Glad to have you all back for another episode. I do apologize for the delay of this episode. I was busy, had some stuff going on, went to a few places, so I do apologize for that. And going forward after the international break, there will be a more regular timing for the podcast. Most likely Monday evening will be when the Premier League review episode will be released. I'll make sure it'll be released every Monday in the evening so that everyone can know when to come in and to listen to what is the most best review of the Premier League. And of course, you know my style. I don't look at all the games. I don't look at all 10 games. I'm going to focus on the key highlights from the weekend and really zone in on what was going on, the controversies, the fan opinion, what's going on there, to really tell you what's happening and give you an interesting and unique take on it, but also making sure it's also kept nice and simple, because my podcast is designed for everyone. Even if you aren't really a football fan, you're not really that much into football, I make sure that my podcast is understandable for everyone. So let's crack on. I've got lots of interesting things to talk about, beginning with the title race, the 3-horse race, where there's one horse which is going very strong, and indeed that horse is the club which I support, that is Liverpool. What can I say? I did not really expect us to be top of the league. I know it's only match day 7. I know I should not be getting carried away. I know that many fans at this point will start saying we're going to win the league. And I don't want to put the pressure on Arne Slot and demand a league title victory. But the fact that we are in the title race is undeniable. We are in the title race. We are top of the league. Last season, we were in a title race for most of the season. We spent the most days top, and in the end, I would say that we were denied the final challenge towards the end, mainly because of injuries, lack of fitness, VAR robberies, Klopp leaving. So I think that overall, we actually had a very good season last season. We did very well. There were many good moments. We built a good base for the season. So therefore, I think undeniably Liverpool are in for something. We are battling it. And we are only 1 point ahead of Man City and Arsenal. But this weekend has been quite strong, because both Arsenal and Man City were a little bit shaky. They were quite shaky because Man City could have easily lost to Fulham if Adama Traore could finish. Then Arsenal were half sleeping until a surprise Southampton goal made them hurry up and win. So obviously Man City beating Fulham 3-2 at the Etihad, and Arsenal beating Southampton 3-1 at the Emirates. Yeah, lots of airline companies, isn't it? But no, at Anfield, not actually at Anfield, at Selhurst Park, Liverpool beat Crystal Palace 1-0 after a strong goal by Diego Jota on the 9th minute. That makes it 9-10 wins for Arne Slot. We have only conceded 2 goals the entire season. 2 goals, 5 clean sheets. Just for reference, the next best defense is Arsenal and Nottingham Forest, who are both at 6 goals conceded. So there's a very, very big difference. It's quite clear that we've got by far the best defense in the league. We've got plus 11 goal difference. We've added another win to make it 18 points out of a possible of 21. It kind of feels a bit like revenge for last season, because obviously that defeat at Anfield against Palace, that was bottling. We bottled that. We bottled it. We completely bottled that in that moment. It was an absolute disaster to lose 3-0 to Atalanta and then bottle it at home to Palace. But here we go. We've won it. We'll keep on going. We're going strong. And what can I say? There's so many fantastic things to talk about. Jota makes it 4 goals and 2 assists in all comps. He's absolutely top class. My only kind of concern is he must stay fit. He's brilliant, Jota. He gets in the right places. He's annoying as an attacker. He knows where to be, how to score goals. His finishing is great. That goal was a very interesting goal. He just go in front of Guehi and obviously scored. So very, very clever by Jota. Then Gravenberch, arguably the best DM in the world based on current form. Right? I know if I say Gravenberch best DM in the world, people will say you're nuts. You're just being biased. But I'm saying based on current form. I do think that right now, that's undeniably he's phenomenal. And I actually watched an episode by Saturday Social where basically the guests had to rank Caicedo, Gravenberch, and Rice, and both of them put Gravenberch in that. It was a star bench cell, so they put Gravenberch at star. And a lot of people in the comments I saw were saying, "Oh, Caicedo has better stats than Gravenberch." But hang on a second. Since when do you only use stats to analyze football? The best way to analyze football is the eye test. You watch it. Ryan Gravenberch, right? Best defense in the league. Top of the league. Multiple man of the match performances. Performance after performance, pressing, winning the ball back, winning the second balls, applying the pressure, dribbling forward, contributing defensively and in terms of the attack. What more can you ask of him? How has he not proved that he's simply the best DM based on current form? Tell me other players in the Premier League who are consistently getting player of the match, and their team is top of the league. So I don't want to hear this nonsense about statistics. I don't understand fans who want to rely on stats rather than simply looking at what football is. Then another question of debate. We know Salah, people love to criticize him, but look at this: 6 goals, 5 assists in 10 games in all comps. I think he's silencing the critics. Doesn't matter how old he is, he's still brilliant. He's still the best right winger in the world. You can say all you like about Bukayo Saka, but Mohamed Salah, right? He's clinical. His assists are brilliant. His crossing, his ability to put the ball in the box. He's brilliant, and he's evolved to become more of a playmaker rather than just running down the wing. He's evolved his game. He's sensational, Salah, and I think that if he were to leave next summer, that would be a disaster, absolute disaster. He must not be allowed to leave, not if he keeps on showing this form. So to me, he has to stay, and with Liverpool, it's only positive after positive, but it is not positive for Tottenham Hotspurs. Well. I think Volvo could use this as an advertisement. I really think they should try and get a sponsor Tottenham, because that was a fine bottling. What a fine bottle job by Tottenham. They were up 2-0 at half-time. Respect to Brennan Johnson, by the way. Before I continue to absolutely make fun of Tottenham for bottling it, Brennan Johnson, right? This guy was getting a lot of hatred. He was getting a lot of pile-on, people really making fun of him after obviously last season, he didn't score that many goals. Then this season, there were some moments when he was missing chances. And he was getting quite a lot of hate. But let's look at what he's done recently. Goal against Brighton. Goal against Ferencvaros. Goal and assist against Man United. Goal against Karabakh. Goal against Brentford. And a goal against Coventry City. That is pretty phenomenal. I think you've got to admire this. 6 goals in a row and an assist. That's why I call responding to your critics. That's why I call responding to your critics. When you've not... Seriously, from the beginning of the season, from the first few games, he had 0 goals, 0 assists. And then he does 6 goals in a row. That's why I call really just focusing on yourself and proving everyone wrong. And that's why, he's proved the critics wrong. Clearly proved them wrong. But Tottenham absolutely bottling it. You can really start to question what is going on with Ange Ball, because some of that defending by Bentancur and even by Ndogi is shocking. It's absolutely shocking. And I do not just simply... I can't accept this whole high line argument. It's Ange Ball. It's entertaining. It's a high line. That's irrelevant. You can't play a high line and then concede 3 goals in 45 minutes. That's called bad coaching. So let's not try to portray Ange as this, he plays beautiful style of football. It's entertaining to watch. It's a high line. It's irrelevant. If you're playing football where you keep on losing and you keep on conceding a billion goals, that's your problem. Stop trying to somehow portray this as a strength of Ange Postecoglou, because Tottenham right now are in 9th place with only 10 points out of a possible 21. They've picked up less than half the points. So let's not in any way, shape or form try to defend this and try to portray Ange as this great manager who's done wonders. He's obviously done very well last season, but this season alone, we're looking at a very poor start to the season. And my question mark is, how long can it go like this? Because I do think that Daniel Levy, obviously, Tottenham seat, the owners will be ready to continue with him. It'll be foolish to sack him now. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. You've got to stick to a long-term project. You've got to let him build his own team, to establish a style of play. But ultimately, Ange needs to develop. He needs to try to do something. You can't just keep on saying, I play this way and that's the way I play. I'm not going to try to replicate his accent, because that'll be a joke. So I'm not even going to try. But how he says it, but you can't. Come on, mate. You can't do this. You can't keep on playing one style of football, and it clearly is not working anymore. It worked very well for 10 games last season at the start, and since then it's never really been brilliant. Tottenham only finished 5th place last season because of that fantastic start, when Ange Ball took the Premier League by surprise, and he obviously had some fantastic success. But ultimately, that is not going to defend him doing terribly now, because he does need to change something. And I do think that one of the things about a great manager is the ability to adapt. The best manager in the world, in my opinion, is Carlo Ancelotti. And the reason why is his ability to adapt. He hasn't got a set style of play, and he doesn't need one, does he? Why does he need a style of play? He can get wins. He can win Champions League finals. He can win trophies. Pep is very different. Pep is a genius and a grandmaster at what he's good at. But with Carlo, I almost feel like he could go to many clubs and do quite well. Obviously, you could question his success at Everton. We all know that that's a more complicated story, but I think the problem with Ange Postecoglou is this one-dimensional managing is not going to work, because in the Premier League you are going to get found out. You are going to get caught out. When you're playing you're playing Brighton, they're not a bad team. They will know how to punish you. They've got the talent to punish you. And Fabian Hurtzler, you might think he's inexperienced, you might think he's quite young, but the man knows what to do. Any competent manager will be able to break apart Spurs, because it's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult to dismantle a team who refuse to try to defend. So I think Spurs are in quite some trouble there. Everton are out of the relegation zone. We obviously knew that from before when they beat Crystal Palace before. And they've now had another solid performance to draw against Newcastle, 0-0 at Goodison Park. If you had to ask me, have Everton turned it around? It's hard to say. It's early days. They are 16th place with 5 points, minus a goal difference. So I think with Everton, it's really a question of Dyche has sort of got his act together. They do have some very nice games coming up, which is very important. They've got Ipswich away, then they got Fulham home, Southampton away, West Ham away, Brentford home. I think these next 5 games will be defining. And if Sean Dyche can't pick up a decent number of points, I think he should be sacked, because these 5 games will determine if you stay up or not. These games are crucial for Everton, because Everton will not be surviving by getting a point against, let's say, Man City. That's not what's going to keep you in the league realistically. What's going to keep you in the league is you need to get a lot of points from these easy games. Beating Southampton, Ipswich should be non-negotiable. You should be beating Fulham at home, and you should probably be trying to beat Brentford at home. So I would say that Everton do need to at least get 10 points from this as a bare minimum. 10, 11 points they have to get. And then they will start to build a gap to the bottom 3. And by the way, Crystal Palace, Wolves are all in the bottom 3, so they are going to be also improving, I expect. So Everton do have a lot of work to do. Defensively, you can put the biggest of question marks possible next to the name, because what on earth is Ashley Young at 30 years old doing in that defense? I don't know. I seriously don't know. I also don't know what on earth is Michael Keane doing there, and what on earth is James Garner doing playing at right back. You really ask the question of Everton, why did you not make defensive signings? The answer is, I don't know. I don't know why they've decided to not sign more defenders. They are quite unlucky. Mikolenko's injured, Coleman's injured, Braithwaite's injured, and then Nathan Patterson's also not available. They are unlucky, Everton, in that sense. It's quite unlucky to have so many injuries in defence. But equally, I think that Everton should have really thought about signing. You spend that money on Beto the season before. They spent quite a lot of money, I think 30 million or something on him. And you really think of what could that bring to you in terms of defensive signings. And yeah, I think it's a problem for them, because they haven't reinforced the defence. I look at the bench and there aren't many convincing names on there. I don't see any very strong standout players who can really help them survive. So hence why I think Everton are in some trouble. They will have to rely on just moments, I think, by Dwight McNeil, by Nadai, by Calvert Lewin, by Jack Harrison, Decore. They're going to have to rely on these moments and just hopefully just pull something out the hat, really. That's what's going to happen, I think. And then hopefully with Dyche's good defence, they'll be able to stay up. And as a Liverpool fan, I do want Everton to stay up. I don't want them to get relegated. They are our rivals, but I'd rather play them in the Premier League and have Merseyside derbies, because Everton getting relegated is bad for the Premier League. They're a historic club. I'd love them to stay. Then Leicester City take their first win of the season, 1-0 over Bournemouth. There was this whole notion that the 3 promoted teams will go down, and a lot of people have subscribed to this theory. I think last season there was a strong case for that, because last year the promoted teams were quite, not very strong. Sheffield obviously sold their best players. Luton you would never expect to stay up, and Burnley just got completely caught out. But this season you do have a sense that maybe Leicester City can reorganize themselves with Steve Cooper and do better. Maybe Ipswich Town, if they do try to come, Kieran McKenna is a good manager. I think Southampton are definitely going down, but I do think there is a chance for Leicester or for Ipswich to stay up. I would probably say Leicester is the more likely ones, mainly because of the Premier League experience, the manager's got the experience as well. I think they've just got more talent there. Whereas Ipswich, it's always going to be difficult to come to the Premier League playing that style of football because you're going to get obliterated in the Premier League. I'm sorry, what you do in the Championship is different in the Premier League. You can't show up to the Premier League as a promoted team and start to play out from the back and to play very attacking style of football because you're going to get caught out. And already multiple times Muric has made his mistakes playing out from the back, which asks the question, why do you do it? Why did you do it? Just play normal football, go long, defend. Why not? Why can't you play like Everton? You don't always have to play the best football because in the end, we saw what Burnley did last season. They got relegated. So I don't understand that. Also, I'd like to apologize to one of the clubs, and if you haven't guessed it right, it is Nottingham Forest, who I said will finish 19th place. Yeah, I mean right now they're 10th place. They beat Liverpool at home. I mean at Anfield. They've got 10 points. They're 7 points clear of relegation territory. I know they've had a poor patch of form, and they recently drew to Chelsea, but I do have to apologise to Nottingham Forest for completely underestimating their club. Quite clearly, they've got a decent manager. He knows what he's doing. He's got a vision. They've got some good players. Elliot Anderson, decent signing. Gibbs White. You've got Hudson-Odoi, Lang. You've got a lot of good talent there. Murillo is a great defender as well. Then Matt Sells has been quite decent. I mean, that game against Chelsea, he was immense. I mean, he turned into Prime Casillas to make all those saves. So yeah, apologies to Nottingham Forest for that. I massively underestimated you guys. I'm so sorry. I did not expect you guys to do so well. I just felt, manager isn't that great. Steve Cooper got sacked. Nuno isn't really impressing. Signings were underwhelming. But nah, I was wrong. He's coming up with something, and they do have a lot of talent. And lastly, I'd like to just say I really feel sorry for Wolves. Gary O'Neill, I really respect Gary O'Neill. I think there's obviously a lot of fault in what's happening now. Partly it's his fault. As a manager, tactically, you've got to be on point, and you've not been on point. You've made lots of mistakes. Some of the substitutions have been criticised by Wolves fans. But look, 5-3 loss to Brentford. It could have been 9-3 because Sam Johnson, the GOAT, made like 1 billion saves. If it wasn't for him, I honestly think this could have been a complete rout. It's tough for Wolves. It's very tough. You lose your best defender, Max Kilman. You arguably lose your best attacker in Pedro Neto. You've not signed anywhere near the sufficient replacements. So there is the kind of defense for Gary O'Neill, but equally, that team ain't bad. That's not a team which is that bad. You look at Wolves and you were last place in the Premier League, minus 12 goal difference, haven't kept a single clean sheet. I really think that can't be just justified by Pedro Neto, Max Kilman alone. I think blame has to be put on the players, has to be put on the manager as well. I think individually, for instance, Ait Nouri is underperforming, Cunha is underperforming, then Huang Ki-chan is underperforming individually. The manager can't fix that instantly. He can't just force the players to do better. But with the tactical decisions, the setup of the defense, it has to be done better. So therefore, I feel sorry for Wolves. I really hope they stay up and Gary O'Neill can prove everyone wrong again and stay up. So yeah, I mean, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. We've reviewed the Premier League. I've looked at some of the lower teams because, I don't just want to talk about the top teams. I want to talk about the entire Premier League. And I think the highlights of the match week will never be just the top teams. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. More episodes coming out soon.